Hey everyone, this is Michael Angel with CDSoundMaster.com. For the next several videos, I'm going to be using this song session example from my friend Gary, who's with the Black Dogs out of Devon, England. So this song session is just a jam that they put together last year called the Osmosis Jam. And I'm just going to use a small section of the song for this next group of videos. So in getting to know the sound of tape, I'm going to be using the Tape Booster Plus as an example. And I'm wanting to specifically deal with the sound of tape saturation. So as you can see here, I've actually got 8 instances of Tape Booster Plus loaded up. And I've already gain staged them to where I have the right input-output levels. I'm allowing it to drive a pretty good amount of the signal because it's not, each of these tracks are not sitting at full volume. So I'm actually letting it saturate the amount that I believe is going to give each stage a maximum amount of drive without overloading anything. And then you can see that because the boost is actually increasing the perceived volume of the track, I'm bringing that back down a tiny bit with the output level. So you can see each of these has kind of a similar setting to one another, even all the way to the very end. The technology that I'm using with Tape Booster, it has an incredible accuracy with the harmonic content, but it also comes at the price of there's a limit to how much one instance can do before it starts going beyond the natural effect of the tape. And so instead of diminishing the accuracy by using algorithmic harmonic distortion, the goal is to gain stage. And a lot of things that you can do with these plugins, you could pre-render for the entire session if you become familiar with the sound. So, special thank you to Gary and the Black Dogs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play this section of the song so you can hear it run through a couple of times without anything on it. So you can see over here, the effects are turned off. So I've got the kick in microphone, kick out microphone, the snare top and underneath microphones, the close large diaphragm condensers, and then I've got the bass direct inject, or the direct input, and the SM57 on the bass cab. And then I've got the guitar recorded here, and with the 57. So for the sake of using the system resources while recording this, what I'm going to do is, since I just want you to hear the tape example over this entire section mix, all the instruments blended together, I've just got a basic straightforward mix set up. I'm going to go ahead and render them together, and then I'm going to let you hear the effect of one instance of the tape saturation added to the next, to the next, to the next, so you can hear the progression. And then I'll also show you the waveforms on their own track, so you can see the analysis of how it's growing the signal exactly like those harmonics should. So now we have all those tracks rendered down to a single stereo file. So here it is soloed. And this is dry without any tape effect. You can see there's a wide dynamic range, all these nice peaks. It's just the natural blend of the players. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding one of these at a time, and I'm going to render them so you can see and hear them. So now I have rendered the dry version of this segment of the mix on Osmosis Jam from the Black Dogs. And this is one instance of Tape Booster Plus, two instances, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we'll do a little bit of analysis in another program as well to see the waveforms even better. But what I want you to notice, first of all, just from the visuals, you can see there's a pattern of the peaks, and there's, I believe this is the snare drum that hits that peak right there. Let's take a listen real quick. Yeah, so you can see that that peak repeats itself in every single rendering. The more tape that we're using, you'll see that the pattern of the dynamic range is the same, but the lower levels are being lifted up higher and higher and higher, but none of the peaks are harmed. And, if we zoom in here, you'll notice, the exact same thing in detail. As we go along, the fewer the instances, you can see that it is a wider dynamic range from the quieter signal. But the quality of the dynamics, the speed of the peaks, all of that detail is still maintained, even though your signal is getting louder. It's being pumped up by the harmonic distortion from the tape machine. So let's take a listen to the progression from dry to more and more and more saturation from the tape. So here's a little bit of the dry signal. And I'm going to play back and forth the same segment so you can really hear back and forth. Sometimes when you just listen straight through, you don't really hear the difference as easy. All right, so one instance. Dry. All right, two instances. 3. 4, 5, and all the way to 8. Back to dry. So what you may notice, other than it just getting louder and louder, there is no actual compression going on. But this has been described as instant compression in tape compression. And it really is just getting the exact correct harmonics to operate on the original signal. And you can see that the result of that is that you have none of the negative digital artifacts of interharmonic distortion. You have only the desired effect of a real analog harmonic effect on the principal fundamentals. So another thing you notice if you listen intently on the individual instruments, the effect that it has on the bass, on the drums, on the guitar, that you get a little bit of that pillowy saturation around each instrument that makes it have more energy and drive and force, but it's still not really sounding distorted. Now, if I keep going, eventually you're going to hear the effect of real obvious overt tape distortion, and I'll do that in a separate video just to make that point. But from here, what I'd like to do, I'm going to do a separate video where I'll just show you the analysis of the waves a little bit closer visually. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another video with the same song, same segment of the song, where I'm going to break this down and put the tape saturation on each individual track and then put those tracks back together with a single instance of saturation, bringing them all together. So you can hear the difference of more and more complex gain staging. And that will bring us into the next stage of that topic. So I hope that you find this enjoyable and interesting. And again, thank you to the Black Dogs and Gary. Thank you for providing the jam. I'm going to be using this in a lot of different situations because it provides just a perfect example of the range of different instruments on a nice sounding jam mix. So God bless you guys. Until the next video.